Today I will talk a little bit about grammar and syntax. The reason I want to spend time on syntax is that it's one of those things that beginners struggle with the most. You can't just tell the computer what to do, you have to say it in this very particular way that the computer understands, and if it doesn't, it yells at you. Syntax and grammars are a great example of how computer scientists take a big problem and break it down into little pieces, solve each bit, then recombine it all. The idea in this video is to motivate syntax in programming languages, using examples and concepts you're already familiar with, and give you a context to put these new ideas into while you're still getting used to them. So, the goals for this video are to learn the basics about grammars, associativity, and precedence, how to use grammars in learning new programming languages, and reasons key syntax. Before jumping into the computer science, I want to talk about grammars in natural language. When I say grammar here, I mean the very simple sense of rules which tell us how to make sentences from words. A sentence usually has a subject, an object, and a verb describing the subject doing something to that object. A simple rule to say that is, a sentence is a noun phrase, the subject, followed by a verb phrase, the verb and the object that the verb is done on, like this: S, arrow, NP1, VP. So a sentence is a noun phrase, followed by a verb phrase. Some examples are, they fish, or rivers in Scotland are cold. The noun phrases are they, or rivers in Scotland, and the verb phrases are fish, or are cold. So a small list of noun phrases could be something like, a noun phrase 1 is either a fish, or the word rivers, or the word pools, or the word December, or the word Scotland, or the words it, or they. A verb phrase can be something simple like swim. So we can say a verb phrase is just a verb. For verbs like can, play, fish, or swim. But verb phrases can also be more complicated things, like swim in rivers or play on grass. The words in and on are prepositions, and grass and rivers are just noun phrases like we've seen before. When we combine prepositions and noun phrases, we get prepositional phrases. And then, using a prepositional phrase, we can say a verb phrase, something like swim in rivers or play on grass, can be made by adding this option, a verb followed by a prepositional phrase. But what if we wanted to say something like swim in rivers in Scotland? Then we'd want an extra rule, which said that rivers in Scotland is a noun phrase just like rivers, but bigger. So we label this kind of bigger noun phrase as NP2 and say an NP2 is just an NP1 followed by a prepositional phrase. And then we can extend what a verb phrase is by adding this last rule, saying a verb phrase can also be a verb followed by a bigger noun phrase. Now, the point isn't to teach you actual grammar here. That's the job of your languages teacher. Here, I'm just trying to show how some seemingly simple rules, when combined in the right way, produce things which look like a normal sentence. For example, with these rules, we can write they fish as a sentence. We want a sentence S, but there's only one rule for that, so we use it. S is an NP1 followed by a VP. Now we look at NP1. When we look in our rules, scan down and find the word they. That's great. We put that in. Now we want a verb phrase. There are a lot of choices for verb phrases, so let's use a common trick and work backwards. Fish is a verb, and one of the options for a verb phrase is just a verb on its own. So we've got the entire diagram. Now let's try the sentence, they fish in rivers. We've done the first bit already, but we can't stop at fish here. We can look at in and work backwards. In is a preposition. Rivers is a noun phrase 1. We can combine the two to get a prepositional phrase. We know fish is a verb, and so, by the rule, a verb phrase is a verb followed by a prepositional phrase. We have a verb phrase. These diagrams are called syntax trees, because if you look at them right, they look a bit like a simple drawing of a tree. Pause the video and try using working forwards and working backwards to figure out what the syntax tree of they can fish looks like. Is there more than one way of doing it?